Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Carlton Trail Eagle Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In October, I asked the Minister of Finance how he could justify taxing the passive investment income of Daryl and Kathy, farmers in my riding, at a rate a third higher than he would tax the millionaire owners of Morneau. Well, apparently he couldn't. For all his talk of tax fairness, it took the voices of thousands of Canadian farmers, doctors, and small business owners to convince him to not take 73% of their passive investments. The Finance Minister and the Prime Minister claim that they are only raising taxes on the wealthy, but we know this simply isn't true. Under the Liberals, over 80% of hard-working middle-class Canadians are paying on average $800 more per family. The Finance Minister claimed he wouldn't raise taxes on small businesses, but later admitted that his tax plan would do just that. Time and time again, the Liberals have been caught trying to take more money out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Whether it's raising taxes on local businesses, going after health and dental benefits, or even trying to tax the fast food worker for their discounted burger, these Liberals are not to be trusted. And there is a reason for this. This is the way they think. They believe that success is to be frowned upon, to be discouraged. When the Liberals say rich, what they actually mean is taxpayer. A small business owner is not to simply jet off to a previously forgotten French villa, unlike some members on the other side. This government would rather see a small business owner scrape by or even close up shop than make a decent profit for the hours of hard, honest work they put into keeping their business open. The results of their policies are clear to anyone who has had to live under them for any considerable length of time. As small businesses are taxed at ever higher rates, they begin to close up shop, and in the process, their employees lose their jobs. Their policies ensure those struggling to make ends meet struggle even more, and it seems they are fine with that. To paraphrase the Right Honourable Margaret Thatcher, they would rather the poor be poorer, provided the rich cease to be rich. And this is why Canadians don't trust them. This is why our Conservative caucus has called for the resignation of the Minister of Finance. It isn't just that he can't be trusted to be open and transparent with his own finances. He can't be trusted to be open and transparent with the finances of millions of Canadians. The Liberals will claim that they are for the middle class. If this is so, Mr. Speaker, then when will they stop trying to tax them into poverty?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, the first word that comes to my mind is wow. You know, the member across the way sure knows how to read off the Conservative speaking points, and who cares if they're true or not, Mr. Speaker? And that seems to be the attitude of the speech that we just heard. Nothing could be further from the truth. We have a government that understands and appreciates the value of a small business. We have a government that understands and appreciates the importance of our middle class and those aspiring to be a part of that middle class, and those that are trying very hard to make it, Mr. Speaker. And our policies reflect that. And it's only the Conservative Party that consistently rejects it. You know, we've had tax decreases on the small business tax. We've made a further commitment to decrease the small business tax. We put literally hundreds of millions of dollars back in disposable income for 9 million Canadians plus. We increased the Child Canada benefit, putting millions of dollars into the pockets of individuals that need it the most, our children and those providing care for those children, which enables them, in essence, to lift literally thousands of children out of poverty. We've invested in seniors, all of which, all that disposable income, what do you think that they're doing with it, Mr. Speaker? They're spending it. And by spending it, they're creating jobs. This government has created close to 500,000, 500,000 jobs in 2 years. That is half of what Harper, Harper did what, 1.2 or close to 1.2, most of part-time jobs, Mr. Speaker, in 10 years. In 2 years, look what we've done. And that's when we had projections going during the last federal election that the economy was not going to do well. We disagree, and we have a different approach, and that approach is supporting Canada's small businesses. And that's the type of policies that we have actually seen. We have conservative spin, which I refer to the unholy alliance between the Conservatives and the NDP, and they choose to try to turn it into a negative, when in fact this is good news. We have jobs that are being created. We have an economy that's moving forward, unlike to the degree of which is far greater than most other countries, Mr. Speaker, and we're talking about the Western world. These are the types of policies that we are seeing. And what do we have as a direct result? We have the official opposition working with the New Democrats, and they persist at the character assassination of the Minister of Finance. It doesn't matter what the Minister of Finance does, whether it's the special tax on Canada's wealthiest, whether it's the tax break for Canada's middle class, it don't matter. The Conservatives and the NDP constantly criticize the Minister of Finance. And now they're giving up because they know just how well our policies are being received by Canadians, so now they're in the gutter. They're in the gutter taking personal shots at the Minister of Finance, even though, much like every member of this chamber, we all have an obligation to go to the Commissioner of Ethics and report our assets, and that's exactly what the Minister of Finance has done. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, you will find that there's more individuals on both sides of the House in which the Commissioner actually looks into. But they rather stay in the gutter and take the personal shots, the character assassination, which I say, shame on them. They should be focusing on providing constructive criticism towards the government in terms of ideas that they believe would help Canada's economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I said before, the Liberals care more about the success of some than they do about helping everyone. The Liberals will always engage in the politics of division. Meanwhile, the Conservatives on this side of the House will fight for fair treatment for everyone. And while the Liberals like to take credit for the positives of the economy, as we've just heard, are they willing to take responsibility for the negatives as well? When their $19 billion deficit has to be paid off by our children, will they take responsibility for that? How about the deficit after that? Will they take responsibility when small businesses close up shop due to this minister's ill-conceived and ever-increasing taxes? Somehow, I doubt it, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, has the opposition, Conservative opposition, taken responsibility for their $150 billion that they contribute, the Stephen Harper contribution to Canada's debt? The Conservatives like to think that they understand economic finances and how to get an economy moving forward and the management of government books. But when you take a look at the previous 10 years of the Harper administration, I would challenge members opposite on that point, and that's why I don't think that we need to take the advice from the Conservatives in regards to a deficit. What I want to see is opposite to what the member has just finished saying. She finished saying that, the success of some. Well, the success of some is fairly large. All Canadians have benefited by the policy implementation on a wide variety of things, Mr. Speaker, and we will continue to move forward to give more strength to our Canada's middle class.
Honorable député.